Hello crafty friends and welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing my Capsule Papercraft collection. This is very heavily inspired by a series that Kristina Werner started over on her YouTube channel for the month of February, where she created a capsule papercrafting list and she narrowed down all of her supplies into just a few items and then used those items for the month of February to create cards, and that was all she was allowed to use. So she mentioned, and I think this is really great for people who are feeling overwhelmed by the amount of supplies that they have, they're struggling to kind of be inspired because there's just so much going on in their craft room. And it would be great for someone that's going away, which is what I'm going to use it for. I'm going to be traveling, so this is everything I'm going to travel with whilst creating videos on the go. It would be great if you were moving house or if you were having to close down your craft room while you redecorate and you just wanted to keep a few supplies to keep you going. So let's dig in. I will have a link below to Kristina's blog post and also her video, which was the inspiration for this. I am going to be working from her capsule papercrafting list, but I've made a couple edits to suit my style, and I'll take you through it. This is everything. Believe it or not, this is absolutely everything apart from a smaller self-healing cutting mat that I'll be taking with me. This one is just too big to take with me, so I'm going to take a smaller one on the go, and I will also take my Archon mount to be able to film videos while I'm on the go, as well as a couple lights. So this is the first category. On Kristina's list, she mentions white, smooth, 110 pounds or thicker cardstock, black, 110 pounds or thicker cardstock, watercolor or mixed media paper, and masking paper. So I've made a slight adjustment in that I have Neenah 110 cardstock, and this is in US letter size, which is the size that I generally use for my card making. Then I have some black cardstock from my stash. I'm actually out of my normal kind of Simon or Hero Arts cardstock, so this is just some UK A4 sized cardstock. It will work just fine for my card bases for matting and layering. It's just a little longer and ever so slightly narrower than US letter size. Then I have some watercolor paper. This is an Arteza watercolor or Arteza watercolor paper. It's really smooth on one side and has a slight texture on the other, and is a really nice bright white for a watercolor. It's not a perfect match for the Neenah, but it's not too bad. And then in place of masking paper, I actually have some Strathmore Bristol Smooth Surface. This I find is really great for ink blending, and so I wanted to include some of this in my list as well. So that is it for my paper. I can do some of my layering using the black and these two whites, so either the smooth surface or the watercolor paper, or I could use a thicker layer in the Neenah 110, but this is perfect for card bases as well. So then we have inks. This is all of them that I'm choosing to take. We have a black waterproof ink, as well as some dye inks for stamping. I have a Tailored Expression collection. These are actually the colours that match the Tailored Expression blending brushes. And then I have some Altenew inks. These were actually some that I got whilst I was at Creativation, so there's some little mini collections that include a nice black for stamping. And then I've also added a white pigment ink and a Versamark. So there isn't actually a pigment ink included on Kristina's list. She mentions a waterproof ink, hybrid inks, and a Versamark, but I decided to include a white pigment ink, which would help with some techniques. Maybe if I wanted to get some different shades of these ink, I could do some white stamping underneath, and it just gives a couple extra options. So I filled up one tin, and then I had these two cute little packages that I thought would be perfect to take with me, and then my VersaFine Onyx Black. I could have switched out maybe the pigment ink or this ink here for something like the Gina K amalgam ink. That's really great for working with Copics, with coloured pencils and Gamsol, or is also waterproof. So that's a really great for kind of a small capsule collection. I made sure to cover a rainbow, and also then just added in a couple of kind of layering colours. So I've got a few different shades here within the Altenew sets. So that is all of the inks. For my colouring mediums, I'm cheating a little bit. I've got some pencils, some paints, and then instead of my optional white gouache, I have a selection of Love from Lizzie peel-offs. These are kind of addicting in a very good way, so I figured they're going to count as a colouring medium for me for this purposes. You know, there's rules, but you can break them. You've got to create whatever works for your style of crafting. And I love to use peel-offs, and I had to include the holographic ones. I think they work great for every card, really. I mean, they contain the full colour of the rainbow in there, so you can make them work with a lot. And then we've got the iridescent ones and also the glitter and the black, which I think is a great staple. And I included just a couple colours of the purple and the greens in there as well. So we've got Love from Lizzie peel-off stickers. Then I have this set of Altenew paints, which when it came out, I absolutely had to have it. Like, I deliberately placed an order just for these paints. I was so excited. And look at them. I have never used them. It is definitely true that buying your supplies and using them are two completely separate hobbies. So I have all of these. This is quite a large watercolour set, really. The one that Kristina used was really, really small, and she showed how you could get a ton of colours out of that. But I figured because I have this and I have never used it, I'm going to include it in my capsule supplies and see if I can get to know it a little bit and play with it and do some watercolouring. So here I have a selection of Prisma Colours. I have 25, including the white. Again, just kind of covering a rainbow selection, some pinks in there, some browns, a black, and some more kind of, I'm going to call them flesh tones. Obviously, any of these can really be flesh tones depending on how you mix them up, but some pale tones. And yeah, just kind of tried to get a couple of each, so I've got a spread of the different colours that I might need. I just picked these out of the collection that I have. I don't actually use my pencils all that much, so I'm hoping again that this is like an easy way to just scoop these up, take them with me, and have everything that I need. For adhesives, the recommendation is a tape runner. I'm going to be using this Gina K tape runner. It is a small one, so I'm going to sneak in a refill pack. Then I have a liquid adhesive, which is my Gina K Connect glue, and my foam adhesive. I decided to take the tape rather than the squares because I can always cut this up into small pieces. So that is it for the adhesive. It seems crazy when I have a whole craft room full of things. You kind of feel like you need everything. I think it's nice to kind of pare down and realize that you don't. Next up is the tools. This is probably the largest category, so I'll break this down. First is my MISTI. I'm taking the original size because this way I can use background stamps and smaller stamps. I've also got a acrylic block just in case I'm doing repetitive stamping and it's a bit quicker. I don't really need this, but it's so small, I'm going to throw that in as well. I then have a mini scoreboard. This is actually a new one from Dress My Craft. I'm going to take that with me. I am going to include my Teflon bone folder just because I know it gives really great results, and usually the Teflon are better than the ones that are supplied with the scoreboards, so I'm going to include that as per Kristina's list. Then I'm going to take my portable paper trimmer, which is this one here from Fiskars. It has this flip out arm, so you can actually measure up to 12 inches, and I believe it fits 12 by this way, so I could actually have a 12 by 12 paper in here, but it's nice and compact once it folds up. And I am going to take a couple replacement blades. You can see this one's kind of dirty. It's been in there a while. So I'm going to take some replacement blades because I am going to be away from my craft room. So if something runs out or if something breaks, if the blade needs changing, I'm not going to be able to just nip into a drawer and pick out a replacement. So I'll make sure I take those with me. So next I have my T-square ruler, which is a really great staple just for kind of lining up against the edge of your card and getting a really nice straight line. So I have my T-square. I also have 4 blender brushes. These are various different sizes and cleanliness of the Picket Fence Studios blender brushes. Then in place of painter's tape, I have purple tape, which works really well for masking and taping pieces down. And in place of a hard surface to work on while painting, I have a laminated sheet of cardstock. I tend to use this a lot when I'm doing ink blending to keep my surface clean, or if I'm watering anything down, I'll use it as kind of a mixing palette for paints. So I think that's a great thing to have on hand and really inexpensive. So then I have a few extra things. I've got my paint brushes. So I've got a larger one here, then a size 6, a size 4, and a size 2 paintbrush. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to painting, so we'll see how this goes. Generally I just create a splodge of colour and see what happens. So it'll be interesting to challenge myself in this way. I definitely could have swapped out the paintbrushes and the paint set and just included some Copics or a different colouring medium. That would have been fine. As I say, this is not a strict law. It is just an interesting way to challenge yourself or to help you pare down if you need to for travel or a move or decorating or whatever it may be. Then I have a pencil sharpener, which is going to be really useful for my pencils, of course. I have a couple of erasers, just a regular one and also my sand eraser. Then I have some masking tape. I definitely would be more inclined to use this than a masking paper or a, remind me, what is it called? Like a masking fluid. That's what I'm trying to say. So I've got some masking paper here. This is just like a Heffy Doodle, like post-it tape. I added in a Nuvo sparkle pen just because I can use it to paint with and I wanted some sparkle. Oh, there we go. I wanted some sparkle, so I included this in. It's only small. It still counts. It's still a capsule. Then we have a pencil, a white gel pen, and a black marker. Some scissors that I can use for fussy cutting or trimming up any edges. I added 2 embossing powders because I felt like one just wasn't going to be enough. I actually couldn't find my white Love from Lizzie. Most of my white embossing powder is dumped into a really big tub and I just wanted to take a small jar with me. So this is actually the Very Vanilla, and then I have one of my favourites, which is the Platinum Tiara embossing powder. If you can see the names there, those are both beautiful. Then I have my heat gun. This isn't the one that I normally use when I'm crafting. I usually use a Wagner heat gun. However, that one's kind of all tucked in to my desk. And I have this one, which is an older, less expensive one on hand. So I'll stick that in my travel bag to go with me. Then I have my stamp chamois. Well, this is actually my Gina K tidy towel, I tell a lie, but it is something to clean my stamps, and I have it in this cute little case here, which is from, oh gosh, I want to say Marco, made by Marco. I'll try and include a link, but this is a great 3D printing company that makes some wonderful products for craft storage and some other kind of organizational ideas. So I'll include a link below to this as well. I also have those replacement blades that I mentioned earlier and a couple microfiber cloths just to keep everything clean. I can go ahead and wash these out if they get dirty, particularly when I'm changing up my colours using my ink blending, or if I'm using them to kind of sop up any mess if I'm watercolouring, which if I'm watercolouring there is gonna be mess. So last but by no means least, we have the seasonal list, and this is the stamps and stencils that you could switch out as much as you wanted. If you wanted to just have everything I previously mentioned as your kind of really minimal kind of capsule paper crafting, then you could just switch in different stamps and stencils that suit the season or the theme that you're working on, and just keep everything else as your basics. So here we go. I picked a smaller sentiment stamp set. This one is by Hero Arts. It's the Everyday Sayings, and it's got a few different ones with different fonts, which is quite nice. So we've got teeny tiny hellos, happy anniversary, we've got like thank you, thanks, XOXO, just a note, thinking of you. So there's quite a lot to work with just in that stamp set. So I've included this one as my small sentiments. And then for my large sentiments, I didn't have anything that had really big sentiments in. I do have the Simon Says Stamp Big Scripty Sayings, I believe it's called, and I use that one an awful lot. So I thought I'd include a different one with larger sentiments. They're not really big, but this is my large sentiment set, and this is Clearly Besotted Scrumptious Script. And it has thinking of you, happy birthday, just a note, with love, best wishes, thank you, especially for you, Merry Christmas, which I don't think I'll be needing at this time of year, and also new baby. So there's a nice range covered there as well. The next item to include is a background stamp that is generic for many occasions. So I picked this dot background from My Favorite Things. I just think that's perfect. You could do some really fun techniques with this, inking it up in different colors, cutting shapes out of it, kind of stamping it and turning it and stamping it again. So yeah, hopefully I'll stretch my abilities with this as well. I think that's a nice generic one to have on hand. Then I have a stamp set with outlined images. This isn't necessarily a stamp set that screams colouring, but I thought it was a really nice one to include. I just think it's really cute with these little like origami shapes, and this is an Altenew set that I've never used, so I wanted to include that one. The next item is a floral set. This is a really large stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This is Beautiful Flowers too, and it has some large floral pieces and then this really big kind of cluster, and there's quite a few different sentiments in here as well and different leaves, so I think there's an awful lot to work with, especially with it being such a large stamp set. And then last but not least, this is a layering set, but you could definitely use these larger solid pieces on their own to create some fun like repeating backgrounds. But we have like a pineapple here and an orange, and this is one of the Rena K Design stamp and stencil sets, and I decided to include this stamp set because it is new to me and I'm excited to use it. And I could include the stencil, which is right here. So this has some of the detail for like the orange and the pineapple and the flower, and then also a little background section here. Sorry for all the glare. So I'm including this as one of my image stencils. So they go together really nicely. For my other image stencil, I have this one here from Gina K Design. It is a beautiful flower cluster, so I wanted to include that one. I think that's really fun, and it kind of makes a card pretty much on its own, so I think that's going to be good to work with. And then for my generic repeating pattern, slight cheat in that this is a stencil set that comes with two stencils. So it's a geometric shape. It's got the triangles here and then the larger triangles, so you can layer them together, you can use them on their own, you can do it once, shift it, do it again. There's a lot to work with there with these, especially with it being kind of a 2-for-1 because they both come in the set. I feel like that's not cheating. If they're sold as a double pack of stencils, then that still only counts as one, right? And that one is by Heidi Swap. So believe it or not, that is everything that I'm going to be taking with me for the next few videos that you see on my channel. I'll make sure to let you know in the title of those videos that I'm using my Capsule paper collection, and hopefully I can share a whole bunch of cards with you on YouTube and on my Instagram as well, so do keep an eye out. I'm going to go ahead and pack everything back into my bag now, so I'll just leave the camera rolling so you can see how it all fits in my Misty bag to take it away with me. Do be careful if you're traveling with things like scissors or a heat gun. If you have them in your hand luggage, make sure you check your airline policy. Most airlines that I've experienced flying with are fine for you to travel with scissors as long as the blade is under 6 centimeters, but definitely check the regulations for the airline that you're flying with. And you may also have to remove something like a heat gun from your baggage as you're going through security. I know that that's something we have to do here in the UK. You have to take out anything with a plug or anything electronic that is larger than a phone from your bag. It doesn't get taken off you necessarily, but you just have to take it off when going through security. But I'm going to have all of this in my checked luggage. Hi everyone, it is voiceover Laura. So, whilst I am packing away in super fast speed, this is of course sped up. I just wanted to show how everything fits really nicely inside of my Misty bag. Just to let you know, my travel plans were cancelled. So, I actually haven't gone anywhere, but I am going to film my videos in a different room as if I am on my holidays, and I'm going to continue using this capsule collection for my next few videos as planned, just to really make use of these pared down supplies and see where we get to with creating. If you are new here, I would love to have you subscribed. You can go ahead and tap on the subscribe button and ring the bell if you wish to be notified whenever I post a new video. But that is all from me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.